All right, everybody, welcome back to Two Marks and a Spark. As always, I am Ben. That is Uncle Russ. Hi, Russ. How are you?
Hi, Ben. I'm doing good.
Well,
All rest.
we're here to talk about more pro wrestling as we do every single week here. And Russ, I gotta tell you, this week was kind of boring.
Think so? Had a few interesting moments, but not the most unforgettable week of pro wrestling. Let's put it that way.
Well, the week started with Raw, as always, for some godforsaken reason.
That's right.
3 hours, Russ. 3 hours.
Right from Cleveland, Ohio.
I did not watch the 3 hour version of this show.
I watched most of it, but I watched it with the fast forward button at the ready.
Think you have to watch this show with the fast forward button.
Always, well, that's because it's 3 hours. Even if it's great, it's still 3 hours.
Anyway,
You
this
know,
show
the
kicked
seat
up
cannot endure that which the bladder cannot endure.
a point. Well, I
We started out with Drew, though. It was a good start to the show. Wasn't too bad.
Jay Jay Uso comes out, and he's got his yeet back, thank God. And him and Drew McIntyre have this match after a promo that kind of felt pointless. Uh, and McIntyre and Uso have a pretty good 17-minute match here, roughly 16, 17 minutes, somewhere in there. I didn't time it exactly, but that's
There's a
about
long
what
match
I.
for Raw anymore.
Huh?
That's a long match for Raw.
It seems like they're giving the first match a lot of time and the last match a lot of time, and that's kind of how they've been doing it. But Drew ends up beating Jay here.
Right.
And of course, because he's a heel, he cheated.
Oh, of course he had to, but he won with the Claymore.
Well, he is indeed a heel.
That's right, but he's the kind of heel that I kind of like.
Yeah.
Got a
And then,
personal grudge. He's got a reason to be upset that makes sense with his history with the company. They're building upon things that really happened, and that me always makes for a better storyline. Wherever Drew McIntyre may or may not be headed after this is all over, this could be a good run. So
well,
I like
I would not be surprised if he goes home for 6 months and resigns with the company. Like lets his deal expire, goes home for 6 months and comes back.
I bet you, being on the road like that all the time, 6 months off would probably do you a whole world of good.
We get a recap of the Punk promo from SmackDown.
Correct?
I, I don't know how much we talked about this last week, but and they left this in the video package. The whole line from that past week's SmackDown about not being able to trust people who randomly punch people in the face backstage.
Correct. He was referring to Kevin Owens and himself, right?
Uh,
Don't you think though
what?
that there was a good portion of the hardcore WWE audience that did not understand fully the reference because they don't really give a shit about AEW. I mean,
That
you're
is
supposed
true.
to know, but it didn't hit the crowd the way I thought it would.
Well, you got to think about where they were too. They were on a friggin' army base.
Oh, that's
I don't.
right. Correct.
I don't
That
remember where they were for that SmackDown exactly, but they
kind of
were on.
crowd. Different
It's
kind
a
of crowd.
very.
It's kind of crowd where it's like being at a biker rally. You might not be inclined to stand for the national anthem, but it's in your best interest to do so, or you might get your ass kicked.
Exactly. And then we had the Shinsuke Nakamura promo.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm liking his promos more and more all the time. Ever since they allowed him to speak in his own language and give us the subtitles, they
Yeah.
just feel so much more authentic.
He's basically doing similar to what he was doing in New Japan, but very WWE'd up. Uh, we had a Judgment Day thing backstage. I swear it's only a matter of time before Rhea just starts murdering them.
They
Uh,
just can't get along, can they?
no, and then we had Alpha Academy trying to convince Maxine Dupree that Rhea Ripley was not going to absolutely destroy her, which she promptly proceeded to do.
Yeah,
Uh,
right. Well, that was a win by submission too.
I don't know what the hell they were thinking putting Maxine Dupree in there with Rhea Ripley.
I haven't even seen Maxine Dupree wrestle that much, to tell you the truth. But it was a very short match, wasn't it?
It was clunky, but Dupree hasn't wrestled that many matches. And I think they hoped putting her in there with Rhea and letting her get her ass kicked. Because Rhea is not going to do anything short of kick your ass,
Yeah, exactly.
which is exactly what happened to Maxine Dupree for about 90 seconds before Rhea said, I've had enough of this,
Yeah, pretty much.
locked in a prison trap, and Maxine tapped while crying. And then Ivy Nile got in the ring, and there was a stare down. And it seems like we're going to get an Ivy Nile Rhea Ripley match, which will certainly be better than that.
Correct.
Uh, we then get Adam Pierce.
Well, first we
Got,
got another little video package though about Katana and Caden, who we still don't know that much yet, but I think they're starting to push them a little.
I hope so, because they're both very good. Then we get this CM Punk decision segment, and I'm going to be honest, this was the most predictable fucking segment you've
Well,
ever
yeah,
seen.
it was a little underwhelming because you knew exactly where they were going.
But what we got out of it, despite the fact that it was predictable, was very good.
Right.
Punk
But,
comes out. You knew he was going to sign with Raw when only Adam Pierce was out there and nobody else was out there, despite the
right.
fact that he showed up at Deadline.
Correct. Yours right.
Uh,
So my favorite moment for CM Punk is not for Raw, but last week when he showed up on, or no, when he showed up to talk to Shawn Michaels and he was wearing the Bret Hart T-shirt. I thought that was just a cute, nice little subtle thing there. I appreciated that as a
it
Hitman fan.
that got over very well with the NXT audience.
Yeah,
Uh, Fun fact: CM Punk had not appeared on that version of NXT ever because by the time NXT really started going at a high level, Punk was gone,
right.
and
But then
I
we
won't.
finally got what we should have got last week, and that's what we finally got Seth Rollins walking out and confronting CM Punk finally.
And what we got here was a very good promo.
How dare you say you're home? This is not your home. You abandoned us 10 years ago and tried to bury us. This is our home. You're not welcome here.
Uh, Punk declares for the Royal Rumble,
Yep,
and that is a surprise to no one.
right. Yeah, it was all
Well,
right. It's a great promo. I mean, his promos aren't necessarily knocking them dead like they were, but we've last year or two, we've had a lot of CM Punk. Maybe people are starting to get tired of him already, or maybe not.
well, the Hulu version here immediately cuts to Becky's promo.
So they skip Bronson Reed and Ivar.
If they didn't, I must have blacked out at some point because I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, they had Ivar and Valhalla cut a promo on Bronson Reed telling him he's a sacrificial lamb. And then they go do another little clunky little match with Bronson Reed winning by pinfall over Ivar.
Oh, I apologize. There was a Judgment Day promo in here in the
Yeah,
ring.
there it comes.
This
Yeah,
was
right after that. With the one with
This was
our truth.
this was hilarious.
Yeah, I love our truth. The guy is hilarious.
You
I enjoy
know,
him all the time.
a lot of people don't like comedy in their wrestling, but on a 3 hour show, you need something to be funny
And
somewhere.
our truth is perfect,
And he gets kicked out of the Judgment Day.
even though he was never a member. But he thought he was.
Well, the Judgment Day start kicking the shit out of him, and then here come the Creed brothers.
Yes. So we'll probably get a six man. What do you want to bet here pretty
Yeah,
soon?
I would assume so.
Well, yes.
And then we, at least on the Hulu version, I'm pretty sure there was because they did a weird edit on the Hulu version where they like mentioned a women's tag match.
Right.
I don't remember who that was, but they mentioned it and then it never happened. At least on the Hulu version, I don't know if it
There
happened.
was Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell versus Katana Chance and Kate Carter.
Was
And
this anything of note?
Katana and Kate won by pinfall. Uh, Candice, not really. They just gave a chance to profile him a little bit. I can't remember how long the match it was, but it did make a lasting impression on me.
Well, something that did make a lasting impression. I'm certain not in the way they wanted though. Uh, Becky and Nia. Becky cuts a promo,
Right.
and and if they weren't already trying to bury Nia Jax, oh
Yeah.
my god, this segment completely killed her.
Well, it really got to the point, didn't it?
Uh, you watch this promo and you're like, Nia Jax is a bum.
It's like, you've ended people's careers. You're so reckless.
You broke my face. Fuck you.
That did
Eh,
happen for real. They're using it well, though.
well, anyway, uh, it certainly seems like we're gonna get Becky and Nia at some point. I
Right.
have
And
to
I
say,
would rather see Becky put the title up against somebody else. I really would. And you probably agree.
well, Becky doesn't have a title, but normally, yes,
Oh,
I would agree.
that's right. I'm sorry. See, I can't keep track of all this shit from week to week, man. There's not enough holes in my Swiss cheese memory to fill in.
And then I know for a fact there was a 6 man tag in between that and the main event. It was
Right.
The Miz and DIY against Vinci, Kaiser, and Gunther. They cut this out of the Hulu version.
See, why would you cut out? See, DIY and me as one, but it was a pretty good match. I'm surprised they cut it. That's some of their best workers right there. But they want to
Well,
get the show down to about 2 hours on Hulu, so they got to cut at least an hour's worth of stuff out
they have
of
to cut an hour
the
and a
ads.
half.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good.
Well, at any rate, uh, Raw is going to be in Des Moines on the night that we record this. Russ, are you going to Raw tonight?
Tonight, no, I will not be there. I'm going to
I
stay right
don't.
here in Boone, Iowa, and save my money.
Now, if it was a pay per view, I'm sure you would consider it,
Yeah,
but
I would probably go to if it was the pay-per-view, but regular TV tapings are not the enjoyable live experience they used to be. They're pretty long and not really my cup of tea. I'd
I
rather
think
go
I'd
to
go.
I'd rather go to a little indie show that was an hour and a half long with a bunch of wrestlers I never heard of. I'd probably actually have more fun.
Well, then we do go to the main event of Cody Rhodes versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Uh,
Good one
this
too.
was this was fucking stupid.
Well, the
This
way
was
it had a terrible ending.
this was great for about what was it, 15, 20 minutes, however long they were out there.
Right.
And then it ends with a mist and a DQ, and I was angry.
Yeah.
That will be a theme. I will end a lot of these shows either confused, pissed off, or both.
Well, they have anything like this, and I'm like, been done a million times, and it's been done better. But that's the show.
Well, speaking of been done a million times, let's talk about this fucking Dynamite show.
Oh no, I don't think it was as bad as you did, but I
I
don't
didn't
think.
think the show was bad. I thought the thing at the end ruined the rest of it. Anyway, we'll get there.
Mhm.
So, this show kicks off, and no light the fuse, bring the boom this week, at least not right away.
Right,
This show starts. Samoa Joe comes out, and he is madder than a $2 pistol.
man, that guy is over though, isn't he?
I don't know how they don't put the title on him.
I'm gonna have to.
And he
Yeah,
comes
MJF
out.
needs a break. Go ahead.
He comes out, and he basically accuses Hangman of being the devil. Hangman refutes this statement and says, "No, I'm fucking not." And then we go right into the first match of the night, pretty much, which is Hangman versus Roddy.
Right, next strong, Roderick Strong.
This was a, I don't want to say this was a by the numbers Hangman match, but that's pretty much what it was.
And
This
he
was
won it
fine,
by pinfall
of course.
with the so-called dead eye, as he calls it. Yeah, all right. Hangman Adam Page. At least we got that part over, and hopefully we won't have to see him the rest of the show. That's my attitude.
Might as well. We then got Andrade El Idolo and Brody King in the Blue League. The Blue League had not been on Dynamite before this show,
Correct.
but because it's winter is coming, which I don't know what the hell that even means anymore. The first one they did of this is when Sting debuted, and they did a whole
Winter
bunch
is
of crazy
coming.
shit.
That's right. It starts this week on the 21st.
Yes, it does.
It's got nothing to do with the weather. It's astronomy, people. Remember that.
Well,
But we get
anyway,
Andre and Brody King.
this was a
Right.
very good match.
I loved it.
Although Andrade's probably leaving the company, so I don't know why the hell he's here. Uh,
I've heard rumors of him going back to WWE.
he's going back to Arena Mexico,
All right.
aka CMLL,
Gotcha.
uh, which means he won't be in AEW anymore. So again, I beg the question: why is he here?
Yeah, well, it was a good match, you know. He's been getting better. He's getting over. I'm surprised he's leaving, but he must have a good deal waiting for him.
Well, anyway,
Then we get the little interview with Kevin Von Erich and his sons Marshall and Ross.
can I be honest with you? I watched this whole segment, and my only notes are Renee is interviewing the Von Erichs.
Yeah, they didn't really say too much. Like I said, there was a match on Rampage, which I know we're not going to cover, but it was all right. But it's really hard to tell how good they are. They haven't given them a chance to really shine much yet. We'll see what happens. I don't know what kind of deal they may or may not have signed.
Who knows?
Pardon
Uh,
me?
I said, who knows?
Yeah.
And then we get the return of the Golden Jets. And
Golden
how short
Jets.
lived will this be? Oh
Dana
boy.
Beck and Chris Jericho
This this aged like fucking milk left on the counter. Uh
left out the sun, right?
this aged like milk in a microwave.
Yeah. But it it's over pretty quick because apparently Kenny Omega is hurt and going to be gone for a while.
That is why it aged like milk in a microwave.
Uh-huh.
Uh, this didn't end well. This was not a good segment. This promo sucked. There was honestly, I don't even know why we're talking about it because it's over. It's done.
Right. But they tried to give Starks and Morrissey something to do too.
Well,
And Kenny did reference Enzo in the promo. Did you catch that?
yeah, I hope they don't hire that punk.
Well, I hope not either. I hope that wasn't a reference to that. He just said that Enzo let Big Bill have more mic time, which is fine. Ricky Starks hogging the mic makes perfect sense. It's consistent with his character.
Well, we had Tony Storm on commentary.
Which I enjoy. With Mariah May, apparently it's just her belt holder, right? Just holding the belt.
I mean, she is an every sense of the word Paul Heyman
Yeah.
at this point.
I enjoyed her on commentary. Riho versus Ruby. Boy, they won't let Soho win anything, will they?
Can I make mention of something because I thought this was funny.
Yeah.
Uh, Storm made a comment as to why Luther wasn't there. Uh, Apparently Luther has a case of the gout. I thought this was hilarious.
No, for real.
I don't know.
Well, that gout, he's a big fella. He gets the gout, man. That's pretty serious.
If that's not true and they made that up on the spot because they forgot to send Luther out there, that's funny.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Anyway, we had Riho in her first match back, and like you just said, Ruby Soho cannot win a match to save her life.
No, I feel bad for her too because I think she's better than they're using her for.
Isn't she, though?
So much better, I think. Then
We
we
got a
get
video
another
packet.
then we get another Gold League match.
Well, before that, we had a Wardlow video package.
Oh, forgot about that. That's right. Correct. Wardlow. Yeah, for his. Well, I mean, right now there's so many people with an extra grind with MJF. Kind of hard to tell who's going to actually take that title off of him.
It's got to be Joe, right? Because he's got that torn labrum. Max
Yeah,
does.
it's got to be Joe.
Roosh and Jay Lethal. Roosh absolutely killed this man.
This was great. And Rush, I'm getting to like more. The more I see him wrestle, the more I like him. El Toro Blanco and Jay Lethal. Lethal's one of my all-time favorites. So
He has not won a match. He is not forced to draw.
no,
He
he
has
hasn't
not
won a match in quite a long time.
he has not pipped a point from this tournament, and I don't think he will, because I think this is how they get him away from Jeff Jarrett and that band of idiots.
Oh, he'd be much better on his own from them, I think. Yes, and we had another good. I thought that was a great match, and then we got a whole bunch of promos. John Moxley and Shane Strickland. Nice feud. Looking forward to seeing this.
Well, before all that, we had Switchblade Jay White and Mark Briscoe.
That was a good one.
Jay White,
This was quite a long match, too. Do you have a time on it?
I do not.
But it went on quite a while. I enjoyed
I
it a
feel
lot. I thought for sure Mark Briscoe was going to win. It sure looked like it.
well, they have to keep Jay alive in the tournament,
Yeah.
which he barely is at this point. I can pull up the official Continental Classic standings. One moment. Oh wait,
Jay
this is
White's
gonna
got nine points at least after this. Yeah. He's got 9 points, and Mark Briscoe still has zero.
correct. So where did my dynamite notes go? There they are. Okay. And then we get a Brian Danielson thing. They're adding a match to Final Battle, which we're not going to talk about, so that doesn't matter. And then we had the match that probably should have ended in a draw.
Yeah, it would make sense to have done that. I was thinking exactly the same thing.
John Moxley and Swerve Strickland. Why the hell they had either guy lose here is beyond me. But Moxley beat Swerve. I don't know why.
Which puts Moxley at the top of the pack with 12 points. But we've still got about 2 more weeks to see what happens.
Swerve and Jay are tied at 9. Roosh has 6. Lethal and Briscoe both have nil. This is after Dynamite, by the way. I will update
Okay.
this after we go through Collision as well.
Right.
And then in the Blue League, Andrade's in first, which is
Good.
shocking.
Puzzling.
How? Brody and Danielson each have 6 at this point. Claudio and Eddie each have 3. And then Garcia's out at 0. And now we're going to talk about, speaking of Blue, let's talk about SmackDown.
Yeah, like I said, I did not see SmackDown. I read about it. I didn't have a chance to see it. Somehow my
Well,
connection to Hulu got deleted,
severed. Uh,
severed.
well, I'm not going to talk about this show in full detail, Russ, because you didn't see it. And even if you had seen it, I would say let's not talk about this in full detail because there's like 3 things that matter here. One of those things that matter was right away. Uh, the Bloodline comes out right away, and Roman Reigns was in a particularly sour mood. I mean, Roman Reigns is never in a good mood, but he must have mixed up Friday and Saturday for being all right for fighting because
Yeah,
he he was not happy about anything tonight. Well, he names Solo Sokoa the tribal prince, saying that if anything is ever to happen to him, Solo would be the tribal chief. And Jimmy Uso gets very upset about this, but doesn't say anything. And then Randy Orton comes out, and they go back and forth. Roman says, "You've been gone for 18 months, and I haven't thought about you once. Well, you've been thinking about this face to face the whole time." And Randy goes for an RKO. Roman slips out of it. And the funniest part of this whole thing was when Randy said, "Roman, I don't know, the voices in my head are telling me you just crapped your pants." Uh, I thought this was funny. Uh,
sounds like.
and then Randy said, "You're right, Roman. Uh, you're not just a champion anymore. You're a legend. But in case you forgot, I'm a legend killer.
Don't forget.
Oh, and by the way, Daddy's back."
Right. I mean, you're talking about the guy that spit in Harley Race's face. Think he's going to back down from Roman Reigns? No, don't think so.
We had a yet another U.S. title tournament match between Grayson Waller and Carmelo Hayes. This was a very solid 10-minute match here. This was probably Grayson Waller's best match on the main roster, and it's also who he probably had one of his better matches in NXT with.
Hmm.
And
You picked
he
the
got and Carmelo got a win clean in the middle of the ring. When they said somebody from NXT was going to be in this tournament, I thought, well, there's an easy win for whoever that happens to be that faces them in the
right,
first round. But Hayes
right.
gets the win. Uh, There was some backstage stuff. Randy Orton and LA Knight, and Orton basically tells LA Knight to stay the hell out of his way
Hmm.
again, which is going to be a theme. We had Owens and Theory.
Another
This
tournament
match,
match,
this was perhaps Austin Theory's best match.
even though we lost it.
Well, he lost rather convincingly. By the way, throughout the night for these tournament matches, they had Logan Paul doing these picture-in-picture promos from his phone.
Oh, okay.
I I don't know why.
Just
They
to
were
take people
pointless.
off, keep getting heat.
We had Roman Reigns in his Oval Office or whatever the hell you want to call that thing, his clubhouse, as the
Right.
Judgment Day call their chambers. Well, Roman's sitting back there
In the clubhouse, you mean?
in the clubhouse, and he's pissed off because Randy interrupted their little powwow.
Why is he in such a bad mood? I mean, this is the first time he's had to come to work in how many months? I mean,
Well,
he's been sitting home for a couple of months. He ought to be happy. He ought to be in a good mood.
you know what's funny about Roman Reigns and how pissed off he is on TV all the time and how much of an asshole he is? Everything I've ever heard about Roman Reigns is he is just the nicest guy on the planet and just
Yeah, I've heard that too. I think
about
that's a lot of times those guys make really good heels, you know.
yeah. I mean, yeah. So anyway, Roman's backstage and he's angry and then Jimmy mocks the whole tribal heir thing and Roman says if you can handle Randy without any backup later, you can have whatever you want. And Jimmy responds with yeet and of course Roman did not like that. Uh, and Jimmy said, okay, no yeet. Whole bunch of
What's
stalling
they
and
call it?
backs.
Big Jim Uso?
Big Jim Uso.
Yeah, instead of Jimmy, huh? Big Jim. All right,
Can you
whatever.
imagine? Well,
You
we
know,
had
he's
a
still used to the RKO,
we had a we had a carrying cross vignette. This guy still has a job, and I don't know how.
which one?
Carrying cross.
Oh, Karrion Cross, yes. Yeah, he showed up a week ago, and I thought, man, this one I had finally totally forgotten about the guy. They had to go and put him back on TV.
Well, I wrote here carrying cross video package. Why are they doing this? They're not going to push this guy.
Even if they do, he's not going to get over with the WWE crowd. That's
He's
my
a good
feeling.
he's a really good worker, but him having to work the WWE style is just it's not gonna work.
The gimmick, it just doesn't feel real. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel real to him. And his valet, that seems pretty pointless too.
Yeah. Well, that's his real life. That's his shoot wife right there.
Yeah, well, that's right. But if your character is the evil, dark, witchy woman, don't have blonde hair, have black hair. Come on. Let's stay in character here.
I think she used to have black hair, like when they were on the Indies, like 20 years ago or whatever. It wasn't 20 years ago, but 2020 felt like about 15 years.
Sure.
And don't tell me it didn't.
Well, you did not watch Rampage.
Oh, we're not done with SmackDown.
I thought we were. I'm sorry.
No, I'm going to speed this up.
Apologize.
Well, let's just cut right to the main event because this is where anything that's important matters. Uh, Randy Orton and Jimmy, they had a very decent match. It was. You ever been to a concert for like a band that's a bunch of old guys, and really all they can do is play like their top 10 hits or whatever?
Sure.
That was this in terms of a Randy Orton match. He went out there and he played the hits,
Yep.
and he won. No, no surprise.
That's right. I expected it. And he won with the RKO.
And then after the match, we get a whole schmoz with Orton and Reigns and Sokoa and LA Knight. And then the return of the phenomenal AJ Styles, who looks like he's done more steroids in the last
Yeah.
6 months than he's ever done in his life. Uh,
Thank you for mentioning that. I did see a photograph and he looked jacked up. And I thought to myself, is the new owner of the company relaxing on the wellness tests? Because he definitely looked like he'd been juicing. If he's not, I'm
Randy
not saying he is, but boy, he looks jacked up.
Randy looks bigger than he did, but I think Randy might be naturally able to get that big.
Yeah,
But AJ Styles, he's never looked that big. He looked
right.
huge. Well, anyway, he
I'm
evens
glad he's
up the
back though.
numbers. The bloodline retreat. And right as the show's about to go off the air for no apparent reason whatsoever that isn't explained, LA Knight gets absolutely jawed. Fucking AJ Styles and AJ leaves. Why? I don't know. They didn't explain it. AJ left. Roman looked confused. I
Well,
was
we'll see, I
confused.
guess. Interesting.
So let's talk about this Kenny Omega situation before we talk about Collision.
Yeah, what's the deal? The
I have
surgery?
he had surgery.
Okay.
Hang on. Let me pull up the thing from the Observer here. So Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio yesterday, as we record this, Sunday night, uh, basically said it could have been a lot worse, and that Omega had been diagnosed with diverticulitis,
Okay.
which, if you remember, Brock Lesnar also had diverticulitis.
Yeah, it'd be pretty nasty.
Says he was in a lot of pain and rushed to the hospital Friday. Meltzer said, and I quote, I did not hear if he had surgery yet, but he was rushed to the hospital Friday. He had been in a lot of pain, and he thought what happened was, you probably all remember, is that he had a hernia, that he had the hernia that was really, really bad, which caused him that long, long period go off. He continued, he had been really hurting really, really bad, and he had presumed it was a hernia. He had bloating, which he thought he may have messed up his diet somehow and eaten something wrong, but he just kept training on it, working on it, did the match with Ethan Page from Collision. What was that, 2 weeks ago? He was hurting really bad on Wednesday when he did the promo with Jericho. By that point, it was really bad, so he went to the hospital and found out he had diverticulitis. It was a really bad situation in the sense that if he had not gone in another day or so, it could have been horrendous.
Oh, yeah. That's a good time with that.
Um, that again coming from Dave Meltzer, noted Kenny Omega lover.
Okay.
Um,
Right.
That's all the update we have on Kenny Omega. Looks like we won't be hearing the battle cry for a while.
Right.
He is out
It's just,
indefinitely.
yeah, in other news, Dutch Mantel was hospitalized and released and in recovery. Apparently, he said he had a bad infection
Yeah,
that he had Dutch Mantel.
Dutch
Uncle
had been having health issues.
Zeb Coulter, also known as Zeb Coulter.
Dutch had been having health issues, and I like Dutch's podcast.
Oh, it's
Uh,
one of the best. He is so entertaining and informative.
his co-host is a total idiot and doesn't know what the hell he's talking about
I
because
forget his name though, the British lad.
James, and I'm sure he's a great guy. I've heard from people who know him and they all like him. But this guy, okay, he's on a wrestling podcast, right? And I give Dutch shit sometimes because he doesn't watch a lot of the product. But James doesn't watch any of the product, like at all. AEW, WWE, none of it. And it's like,
Well,
dude,
that would put you at a definite disadvantage.
now they're not always talking about current stuff.
Right.
But when current stuff comes up, the only
But
one
I
who can
had
even,
assumed that when he asked, because Dutch does comment about current wrestlers, and he does comment on what he does watch. So I assumed that his co-host did doing the same.
now I give Dutch a little bit of a break for not watching the product because he's been around it for
Sure.
100 years. I don't know.
I mean, this guy, yeah, he's a veteran. He's been honored. He's
I
he's
mean,
he's got one of his matches preserved at the Smithsonian Institute for crying out loud as a national treasure.
he could probably read our show notes and figure out what the hell's going on.
Sure.
So, like, it's not like Dutch needs to watch the show. Again, he's seen everything, he knows what's going on, and he does watch the show every once in a while. So, in terms of WWE or AEW, um, he does not like Collision any more than we do. Speaking of Collision,
Yeah.
Russ, can I be honest with you?
Sure. You don't like it, I know, but let's see. Let's be honest anyway.
I did not watch most of this show.
Okay.
When I say most of the show, I mean I took notes on maybe one match. Uh, what I saw of this show was not good.
What did you?
Um,
I watched it all, but I don't remember it all. I remember there's a couple of matches that I wondered why is this going in here, but
okay, I'm gonna go over. I'm using AEW's website here for the full thing because I did watch in chunks most of
uh,
this show, but just I blacked out for most of it because it made me so mad. So the one thing I vividly remember is Andrade versus Claudio. This started the show. This was very good.
mhm.
And Andrade won. So he's at
Yes,
nine, Claudio's at
which
three.
no, actually Claudio won that. Did he not by pinfall?
Oh, I screwed up my notes. You're right.
And that was so he's got a total of 6 points now versus Andrade's 9 points.
Correct.
Then we got a
And
couple of women that I'm not familiar with.
then we had
Abaddon,
Abaddon and
that was
Jasmine Allure. Fuck
I
this
don't know
match
what
and fuck this stupid gimmick.
she reminds me of, a few years back they had a couple of gals on TNA like Crazy Mary or Bloody Mary or something like that.
Hey,
That's what
here's the difference though. Rosemary, when Rosemary is doing a gimmick somewhat similar to this,
yeah.
Rosemary can work.
Yeah, this gal I'm not from. I confused her with somebody else I'd seen before, but she is new. Abaddon, what a name, huh? That's the bottom of
Abaddon,
where all the demons are kept until the end of days.
Abaddon. Okay, here's the thing, right? listen, everybody. I I don't mind a little, goofy shit in my wrestling.
Hmm.
I enjoyed TNA when it was just balls to the wall, funny, goofy shit. And I still maintain that some of Vince Russo's best work was in TNA. And I think, Russ, you would agree with me there.
A little bit.
Now, when I say Vince Russo's best work, I mean post WWF.
Okay, there you
Because
go.
because good Vince Russo was when he was being filtered through Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon.
He didn't do so great in WCW.
Though to be fair, I don't know many people that could have done good in that situation.
Yeah, correct.
Well, anyway, nobody cared about this match at all.
Nope.
Uh, and then speaking of the fact that no one cared,
Brian
uh,
Keith. Brian Keith. Who's Brian Keith? He played Uncle Bill on The Family Affair back with, Buffy and Jody and Mr.
oh,
France.
I'm not even there yet. I'm not even there yet. So Thunder Rosa decided she wanted to show up for work for the first time in God knows how long.
Didn't recognize her at all.
I thought they fired her.
I I think they had. I thought she got fired because she ended up hurting a few people. They thought she was a little dangerous.
Oh,
But that's
I thought she got fired because she got in a backstage thing with Brett and instigated the whole thing.
well, apparently they brought her back, but not Brett Baker. What do you? There you go. Figure that. Oh, that's going to cause some heat, and it probably should.
So anyway, they announced for next week's version of Collision, which I'm sure will be just awful.
Right.
Uh Julia Hart and Sky Blue against Abaddon and Thunder Rosa. They announced that later in the show. I have about as much desire to see that as you do.
Yeah.
Uh anyway, I'm gonna Brian Keith and Orange Cassidy. Absolutely nobody cared.
That was
I,
predictable ending.
I
You wonder though, these guys that show up from the Indies that don't have a contract with the company and they're getting title matches against Orange Cassidy. They've got tons of guys on the roster that would
Lance
probably
Archer.
a title shot before these guys.
Let's see. Lance Archer,
Yeah,
Brian Cage.
sure.
Uh, who else? Oh, Commander, who ended up being on this show, but later.
Even that
Uh,
Mike Aquino guy,
Vikingo.
right?
Yeah. Switchblade Jay White. Uh,
Yeah.
Juice.
When he's got so many great talent on the roster that he's not using, why does he bring in these guys that nobody ever heard of and is never going to hear of again?
Squash matches. He wants to do squash matches for these belts, which I'm fine with a squash here and there, but for a belt, why?
Yeah.
Anyway, we get
It
a
just
video pack.
it devalues the importance of the belt in the eyes of most fans, I think. Go
We get
ahead.
a video package for Miro, which I'm pretty sure everybody cared more about that than the last two matches combined.
Right.
Uh,
Hear the guy talk.
we had Lexi Nair on the wrong show again. Uh, with Commander,
Right.
and I don't even know what the hell happened there.
Well, Roderick
Uh,
Strong and Keenum cut him off and started screaming and hollering and carrying on. So we're going to have Commander and Strong setting up for them to go at it.
uh, we had FTR come out and cut a promo.
Liked it.
Seems like they're gonna keep going with this House of Black feud. I would
Well,
not mind.
top guys, all top
I would
guys.
not. I would not mind them turning heel and joining the House of Black. It won't happen, but I wouldn't mind it.
Right. Even if they turn heel independently, I think they make great heels.
Anyway, we had a Texas street fight, which approximately, I think, three people cared about.
Oh man, you talking about this women's match.
Uh huh.
That was just I didn't like it. And I like all the participants I like individually, but this wasn't a good match.
I remember nothing.
All these women, hurt each other on purpose, made each other bleed, and they're like, "Gee, we can be just as stupid and idiotic as the guys, aren't we tough?" No, you'd be tougher by proving you're better than that.
Which individually, everybody in that match is.
Right. But anyway, I still don't like them calling it a Texas street fight because it ain't a Texas street fight. I'm going to go by Texas street fight as defined decades ago by Jerry Jarrett.
Well, what wasn't defined by Jerry Jarrett
Right,
was another squash.
right. Brian,
Brian Cage ended up getting TV time finally.
that's right. And that was a squash. It was over with very quick, but he looked good.
Uh, Lexi Nair is again on the wrong television program.
Yeah.
She is awful at these. Can we agree that Lexi Nair, she's married to, or getting married to W. Morrissey, so
Oh, okay.
she
Well,
she's not going anywhere. But
all right.
man, I wish she would. Uh, I wish she'd just go home, Lexi.
Well, oh, there you go. Let the record show that Ben Shrewsbury is against women's rights. He wants all the women at home in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant.
No, that's not what I said.
You said she should go home and be a good wife instead of trying to be a wrestler. Everybody heard what you said, Ben.
Somebody's gonna take that out of context and put it on Twitter. Oh
Probably.
boy, that's you know what? She don't even have send her to TNA. Nobody watches TNA anyway.
Yeah, but I'm kind of thinking I'm they're going to be switching here, and I think here the first of the year I might take a look at a couple of their programs and see how they're doing.
When do you think
Hopefully,
they're
doing
gonna
better than Ring of Honor.
Oh, I think me and you with an indie fed could do better than Ring of Honor.
Well, I'm thinking maybe it wasn't such a great idea for him to buy the company.
Well, they were going to go out of business either way. Okay, so they officially switched back to TNA with the Hard to Kill pay-per-view, or
That's
as Tony Schiavone called it a couple of years ago, "We are dead." Uh
yep,
January 13th. I,
right.
I don't know if we're going to cover that show, but we probably should. That might be
It
fun.
might be fun, just to see. Hopefully, it won't be like in the early years of the original TNA, where we get tag teams like the Johnsons,
And the Flying Elvises.
the Flying Elvises.
But here's the difference.
Don't forget, you got midgets jerking off in trash cans.
Oh,
Yeah,
Vince
TNA.
Russo. Vince
Yeah,
Russo,
that's right.
baby.
Exactly.
Vince Russo, man. Dude, it's a miracle that company survived a year.
They're still around. I mean, they just won't, they've been pronounced dead several times, and they keep coming back. So I'll give them credit.
And like they have good talent there somehow. Like they have Eric Young
You do.
and they
Hey,
still have Chris Sabin.
right?
Anyway,
Then we
Eddie
get another
Kingston
Blue League match,
Eddie Kingston finally won a match in this damn tournament.
right? Daniel Garcia still at 0. Daddy Magic joined for commentary. I enjoy him on commentary, but he's not too
I
happy with it.
don't
You don't like
I
Matt
do not
commentary?
no, I enjoy Matt Menard in general, but not on commentary.
Okay,
Uh well anyway, we had Brody King versus Brian Danielson in the main event. Of course, Eddie finally won a match in that tournament, but uh Danielson and King,
that was good too. It
to
was
the
brutal,
surprise of nobody, Brian Danielson won.
right? But he looks hurt, man. He looks like
It's
he
just
shouldn't even be participating in this.
well,
That eye looks really bad.
it's a work, brother.
And when
Uh,
I know it's a work, but when anytime you got blood coming out of your eye, it looks bad.
well, anyway, let's go through the updated standings. First, the Gold League.
Okay,
Uh, John Moxley is in first place with 12 points. Jay
right,
White, who will fight for the right to survive this coming week on Dynamite, I would assume, is tied with Swerve at 9. What are they going to do if there's a tie here?
well, we'll have to see. Then we get an extra match probably.
One would think. Uh, and then, as I said, Swerve and Jay White are tied at 9. Roosh is at 6. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a final. So, New Year's Smash, which is December 27th, they're going to do the Blue League finals and the Gold League finals.
Right.
Who the hell advances to the finals?
Whoever, I think the two with the highest points.
Is it the 2 or is it the 4?
Well, it have to be, if they're going to have quarterfinals, then they'd have to be the top 4.
Well, they're not going to have quarterfinals.
Well, I thought they were seeding it, doing it like I don't mean seeding, sorry. I thought they were doing it like an amateur wrestling tournament, but that wouldn't make any sense, would it?
No, I think they're doing it like they do the Champions League in Europe, where it's two groups. Now, the Champions League has way more than two groups, but there's two groups here, and the top two go through. I think that's the idea here. Now, they've done a piss poor job of explaining this,
Yes,
but
as they do most things.
but I think that's the idea. I
Right.
don't quote me on that because they don't have a lot of TV left before this pay-per-view.
Sometimes I think the people that work on and promotion in this company are making an assumption that most of the wrestling fans out there, most of the potential viewers watch wrestling on the internet. They're smart to the business. They know all of these independent stars. So they give very little time building them up and introducing them to the casual wrestling fan. There's a whole gigantic audience that AEW is missing out on. That and it seems like they're not even trying to go for them.
Like when TNA was going for the smart marks back in the day. Anyway,
Right.
well, this shouldn't surprise you, Russ, but I don't know what they're going to do. And I mean, I don't know what the hell they're going to do. Okay, what happens if there's a tie for second? Because right now it's Jay White and Swerve Strickland. If there's a three-way tie for first, which is possible right now because both Jay White and Swerve could be at 12, Moxley could be at 12. Because if Jay beats John, which good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So if Jay White beats John Moxley Wednesday and Swerve beats Roosh, which I would just assume is going to happen at this point in terms of
Right.
Swerve beating Roosh, the Gold League final, I assume, is going to be Moxley and Swerve too. That's my assumption.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they could do something stupid here, what they could do, and this would be the stupid thing, is if there's a three-way tie on points, they could say they're going to do a three-way. That would be stupid,
Right.
and they shouldn't do that.
But
What I
guess
think
what? A lot of fans, they love these three-way dances.
now,
They
what I think
absolutely love these matches where you can lose the title without getting pinned or submitted. I hate that, but
what I think they're going to do is I think they're going to go results between wrestlers, aka if there's a tie between Swerve and Jay for second, if Jay, well, Swerve beat Jay, so Swerve would finish in second if he beats Roosh, which I assume he will. Or vice versa, if Jay beats John and Roosh, by some miracle of the gods, manages to beat Swerve Strickland, which is good luck, buddy. That's not going to happen.
not on the roll he's on.
Absolutely not. Um, so I would assume that the Continental Classic final right now is going to be either Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson or John Moxley versus Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or Moxley versus Swerve. Well, no, wait, no, they're from the same. Never mind.
well, here's the other possibility. Andrade could end up in the final of this thing, which, if he's leaving the company, that's really stupid. Okay.
I, well, maybe he's not leaving the company. Maybe we just think he is.
So Andrade is wrestling Eddie. Eddie can no longer win the tournament. Eddie
Right.
can't even go to the final anymore. So him putting his two belts up, Eddie just looks like an idiot now. Uh Danielson is going to wrestle Claudio.
That should be interesting.
Are we going to get a finger poke of doom because Claudio can't win?
Oh, yeah. Never thought of that. That would be interesting to see how people would react to that.
I would pull my hair out. Uh
It's a peak. Well, everybody hated that. When, back at the old finger poke of doom when Hogan and Nash pulled that off, everybody in the wrestling world despised it except this one idiot. He was from Iowa, a guy by the name of Russ Wishman. He's
you
watching
didn't
that. He laughed out loud, and I just freaking loved it. I loved it. And the
Did they
matter
do that
people,
on pay-per-view or did they do that
yes,
on
they did.
Nitro?
Yes, they did. And the matter people got about it, the more I liked it.
The balls on that company, I swear to God.
I enjoyed it. I'm not saying it did the company any good, but I personally was entertained.
Were you sports entertained, Russ?
I was sports entertained, exactly.
Well, anyway, I don't know who the hell's going to win this damn tournament. I would assume it's going to be Swerve, but God knows.
Swerve or John Moxley, I would say. Who knows?
Russ,
Yes, sir.
next week is a holiday,
That's it. That is correct. It's a holiday weekend.
meaning we're either not going to do a show or we're going to do a show and it's going to be really damn late.
Yeah, we could do it early or late. My schedule over the holidays is relatively flexible. So we'll just
Mine
play
might
by
be.
ear
I don't
and
know.
see what's going on with you. We definitely will do something.
Uh,
Be our
we
last
may
show.
also Russ, hear me out. What if we record a second show during the week this week as like a Christmas special?
Sure. And we could do a end of the year special too, and just talk about our favorite things to talk about from the year in wrestling. Talk about 2023 in general.
We could do that as well. So it probably
I still haven't seen a better show than WWE in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, we love that backlash show, didn't we?
That backlash is number one so far, but we'll see.
Well, it probably will not be a normal show next week. There will be
All
a
right,
show.
we're not normal people.
Has there been a normal episode of this show yet?
Well, it's like normal, and just like in Young Frankenstein, you got the normal and the abby normal.
Well, there will be a show next week. It will not
That's
be our normal format. I have just decided we are going to do something different because my holiday week schedule is all over the place and I don't know where I'm going to be. So we will
literally
do
from one day to the next, right?
pretty much. I got a day off today, which is the only reason we're doing the show before 6 o'clock.
That's nice. That way I can go home and have a beer and go to bed early.
We both know you're going to be up till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Well, but I might take a nap first.
You'll be up till 1 o'clock, but there will be a nap.
That's right. Hey, I got to get up for my second pee by that time anyway, even if I am asleep. So,
Well, and we're going on a total tangent here, but at this point, nobody's watching this show for the fucking wrestlers anymore. Uh, it's like Kevin Nash says on his podcast. Do not turn the light on when you get up to go take a piss in the middle of the night, because at that point, you might as well just go turn the TV on. You're not going back to sleep.
just got to be able to know your way around.
Well,
Don't worry. Try to get around in your own house in the dark without peeing on the floor, and then you know that you're doing good.
well, here's the thing, right? I'm a night owl by nature.
I tend to be also.
I'm an insomniac. So, yeah, I kind of agree with Kevin Nash. If I manage to fall asleep in the night and I have to go take a piss, don't turn the light on, Ben. You're just going to go in the bedroom and turn your computer on. You know what you're going to do.
Well, I'm one of those people that needs noise to sleep. So I always have a
Me too.
fan going, and I usually have a television or radio going.
Still listen to the radio?
Well, I call it a radio, but it's a streaming service. But I still call it the radio. Hell, if I listen to something on my phone, I call it listening to my radio just out of force of habit. I grew up listening to music when I first started. It was all AM rock, which is a long time ago. But you'd have a top 40 songs, and you'd have 12 different specific genres of music represented. Greatest musical variety ever. AM rock, top 40. There's my plug for the days of yesteryear.
We've done a lot of yesteryear references on this show. We
Well,
references we
you're doing a
referenced
show with
eight
an old fart.
tracks.
What do you expect?
We
You know,
referenced eight
when
tracks.
I first started wrestling when I was about 10 years old, my favorite good guy was Bulldog Bob Brown. My favorite bad guy was Ox Baker. Now, as an adult, I look at their work and believe me, they were the drizzling shits. They were horrible. They were horrible, but yet they were still my childhood favorites. You know what I mean? You ever look back at somebody you loved as a kid and just think, what did I see in them?
Well, yes and no. See, I was a Zack Ryder mark as a kid for no reason. Like I couldn't tell you one thing. I think I liked his music
Right?
because remember like back in like 2008, 2009 when Zack Ryder was on ACW and then he went to
Yes.
Raw or whatever. I remember the reason Zack Ryder got over for a while was because his music was so damn good.
There you
And
go.
then he went and did that internet show that got him over.
That's right.
And now he's
Long
like the
Island
biggest
IC.
and now he's like the biggest indie wrestler on the planet.
I mean, that guy even went to CCW and did a death match with Nick Gage a couple of
You
times
mean
actually.
you mean GCW? Yeah, he did.
What did I say? I didn't mean to see CCW, GCW, which is the era point apparent to the garbage wrestling fans, I
Throne.
think.
Well, I think Cardona goes back to WWE eventually because his wife is there. And he is jacked. I don't know if you've seen him
Yes, he
recently.
is. Remind me who his wife is.
Chelsea Green.
Thank you. Oh
Man,
man, Chelsea Green. Yeah,
if they bring him back as a heel, they got to put those two together because that's a license to print money.
exactly.
Just let just, just let Matt Cardona be Matt Cardona, and you will get money, a
Yep.
lot of it, perhaps millions.
Good example of a wrestler who him getting over with the fans had more to do with himself than with the company pushing him. He's one of those guys that managed to break through the machine and connect directly to the audience. Not every talent can do that, you know. I mean, it's a gift of being able to communicate with the audience that some have better than others.
And I think that's why I always like Chris Jericho so much. Because Jericho's so good with like promos and communicating and all that. Also, don't ask me why, but like Ryder's my favorite random mid card dude from my childhood. My favorite main eventer was Randy Orton.
Hmm.
All of my friends that liked wrestling adored John Cena. And I was like, Cena sucks.
Sure, I was the Cena Sucks crowd until I had to admit at one point, his uh, he won my respect by his skills in the ring, not by his gimmick. You know what I mean? His gimmick never really got over with me that great.
Uh
But I think his best match was the one with CM Punk, to be honest. If I had to pick a best match for Cena,
yeah, his 2011 Money in the Bank match with Punk. Or that match he had at what was that Royal Rumble 2016 with AJ?
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was something else. Um, I don't know, man. I really hope that if Cena has a match at WrestleMania next year, it's with Randy. And I know everybody's gonna say, "Oh, we've seen that match 100 times." We're not gonna see it 100 more. They're gonna do it one more time, and I think it should be at WrestleMania next year.
That'd be great. I think it'd be
And
fun.
everybody on the you remember how you liked the finger poke of Doom?
Right. Even though I knew it was shit, I liked it anyway.
I think everybody's gonna roll their eyes at that Cena Orton thing, but I'm gonna be like, fuck yeah, bring it on. For the love of God, though, do not let them wrestle for an hour again.
Put it down. But that sells some tickets.
Do you remember when they did that 60-minute Iron Man match with those two?
I do now, yeah.
You should go back and watch that match.
Right.
It has
Iron Man
aged well.
matches are usually pretty good because they're rare and they're few and far between, which they should be. But yeah, there were
And
some good ones. Shawn Michaels had a couple good ones. Bret Hart, Stone Cold.
the one I'm referencing is where Randy Orton almost blew John Cena up.
Right.
Like almost actually blew him up because he started bashing on the pyro. And when I was watching that, which I pirated that pay-per-view as a kid in 2009.
Yeah.
And when I watched that, I thought, "Oh my God, John is dead."
I,
And then my stream froze because again, I was watching this not legally. This is
right.
before the WWE Network.
I am
And
shocked, Benjamin, to hear you say that.
don't act like you didn't do it. Uh,
Are you kidding? I've never broken the law in my life. Except for the couple of times I got arrested. Never mind about that.
except for the couple of times I got caught breaking the law.
Yeah, yeah. Some dude, I can't remember the artist, wrote a song called "Smoking." Wrote a song about smoking weed, and it was called "Breaking the Law Every Day."
Oh, that reminds me. We didn't talk about a news story. Did you
Which
hear
one?
this?
Which one?
Liv Morgan.
Oh, she got busted for weed. That's right. She
This
did. She got
story
popped.
is so funny. Okay. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, give us the details.
So, Liv Morgan in Florida gets busted for weed.
Florida.
Pretty sure meth is illegal there. Anyway, so she gets arrested for weed Friday. Do you want to know how much her bail was? It was $1,000.
See, it's a scam. It's a scam. The
So
whole system is a scam.
she's a
Law
pro
order is
wrestler.
a scam.
She's a pro wrestler, so she probably had that in her back pocket.
Sure.
But um she probably just gave that to him. She's probably just like, yeah, here you go. I don't care. Um, but you want to know what the reaction inside the company was?
Well, hopefully the reaction was, who gives a shit?
That was pretty close. The reaction I heard was laughter followed by who gives a shit?
Right. It's a long, long, long time since the days when Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the Iron Sheik were caught driving together with one of them had coke and one had weed.
She
And
had
they got
less than
fired
20
from the
grams.
company because they were feuding.
Well, she had less than 20 grams, so
20 grams. Well,
that's not much.
no, that's not. I mean, 28 grams is an ounce. Don't ask me how they know that right off the top of my head, but it's stuck in there for some reason. Yeah, so that's less than an ounce. That's not
And in
very
Florida,
much.
and in
That,
Florida, I think it's a misdemeanor how much she had.
that could be. I,
So,
I know CBD is, I know that medicinal THC is legal in Florida.
well, at any rate, she got popped for that. The company doesn't test for weed anymore. And again, like I said, their immediate reaction was, ha 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 ha. Who gives a
Well,
shit?
when about a third of the states or so, about a quarter or a third of the states, it's legal or quasi legal. So
It's
that's
half of
just
them,
the trend
more than
it's
half.
going. I mean, how are you going to elect somebody to Congress in this day and age that hasn't at least tried it? Probably, most likely they did.
I just like I like picturing Triple H hearing about this and just laughing.
Yeah,
Because that's probably exactly Triple H heard about this and went, is she out? Did she get out?
right,
That was probably his first question. Did she
right.
get out? Is she out of jail? Do we need to go get her?
Well, I kind of like my attitude is kind of like years ago on 60 Minutes, Ed Bradley's interview with Willie Nelson. He asked him, Willie, do you smoke weed every day? Willie's response was, why? You got some? Which I think was a good response.
Makes sense. I would have said the same thing.
Yep.
Uh,
I remember one time seeing a guy holding a bag of weed and I said, hey, there's a cop right over there across the street. And he says, well, I don't give a shit. He can get his own. I'm not sharing.
The
Yeah,
fact that
good
you can
bargain.
still,
Well, hopefully she won't have to pay too much of a fine for it, but you know, even in the states where it's illegal, it's the penalties aren't quite as stiff as they used to be. They're a little bit more in touch with reality.
I'm looking up federal, I'm looking up the Florida marijuana laws 2023.
All right.
Uh, your 2023 guide, it is illegal, which we already knew. Uh, it is a first degree misdemeanor,
Okay.
up to 20 grams.
Okay. Well, she had the right amount then.
If the amount with it carries a potential fine of up to $1,000 and 1 year of incarceration. That's not going to happen. Can you imagine the fucking fit Triple H will throw if they try to throw her in prison for a year? Oh my God.
Well, I remember the Yippies had a benefit back in the early 70s for a guy, I think his name was John Sinclair. 10 for 2. He was found to be in possession of two joints and he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Boy, how times have changed for the better.
Well, anything greater than 20 grams is a felony.
Of course, because the difference between 19 grams of a substance and 21 grams is relative incidence versus total criminal depravity. And we got to put our foot down.
Which which in Florida, by the way, and we're going on a total sidewalk here, but that's fine.
We
Uh
don't
the
want people
penalty
in Florida smoking marijuana because the next thing you know, they might start reading books and shit and reading history, and that would not be good.
no, not according to their government anyway. Uh this is a fine of up to $5,000, which is outrageous, and 5 years in prison.
Imagine that.
What the fuck?
Now, just think about it. If you were sent to 5 years in prison for possession of marijuana, think of all the criminal skills that you could learn in 5 years, so that when they released you back into society after you paid your debt for this horrible crime of possessing a plant that grows up and down every fence row in the state of Iowa until late into August, you know, think about it. It's kind of crazy.
In other words, this situation is funny. Nothing you can say to me will make me think it's not funny.
Right.
And that's the end of the show, folks.
Right. Well, hey, man, I'll tell you what, when I was a little kid, like about in the early 60s, you could look up an encyclopedia, look up marijuana, and it said this is a horribly addictive plant. The only body that really uses it is black people and Mexicans, and it makes you violent and insane.
Well, that's not true.
No,
Uh,
no, no. That's misinformation. But anyway, hey, we've covered a lot of ground here.
that we have. We've covered everything from the week in wrestling to weed laws in Florida.
That's right. And no disrespect to anybody in Florida. I got friends and family there. Hang in there. Maybe
They'll
you'll get
legalize
out
it
of that crazy
eventually.
place someday, but
By the way, for those wondering what I'm quoting when I read this. Van Elswyk Law.com has given us this information on
All right.
marijuana law in the state of Florida. I'm ending this show before we start talking about something really radical.
Okay. But we'll be back next week sometime. We'll have a holiday special. We'll be talking about wrestling, Christmas, holidays, Hanukkah, everything.
Marijuana.
Well, it could come up, you know.
Us having a conversation that doesn't involve marijuana, less than 10%. Anyway,
Okay.
all right. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you probably Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, one
Yeah.
of the two.
Bless you.
Everybody have a great rest of your week. Happy holidays. Damon, play my fucking music.